All right, so hello everybody, welcome to my channel. This is the video, another video that I am trying to record as part of the series that looks into the subject matter of coaching and looks at the subject matter of specifically flow science that I really, really love. And the goal is to either look at the bigger concepts or look at ideas behind the coaching and flow science and see how this can contribute towards some solutions out there. So me, myself, I'm a creativity coach. And what that means is I help people come up with creative solutions to the everyday problems. Because like Einstein said, the problem that has been created with the current level of thinking cannot be solved with the same level of thinking. So we need creativity in order to get out of our own heads in a way. And so that is what I specialize with the help of psychology, positive psychology, flow science, and many other kind of tools and strategies. So today here with me is Curtis, and I'll let Curtis introduce yourself. He's a great friend of mine, and I'm hoping we're going to have a really awesome discussion here.
Thanks, Pauline. My name is Curtis Hance. I'm a mindset and performance coach. The reason I coach is because I believe in potential. I believe all there is potential. All there ever will be is potential. I believe that we are potential, and our happiness and our that sense of fulfillment comes from how close we come to really tapping into our potential. So that's what I'm all about. And flow state is really the most optimal instrument for really unlocking potential and really tapping into those levels that we really forgot we had due to the kind of the lifestyle that we live. It's pretty much kind of our needs are met. We're not in those a lot of those fight or flight kind of scenarios that require us to kind of tap into that biological kind of superhuman drive. And that's kind of what fascinates me about flow. It's just that we actually have that ability to tap into pretty much a superpower. And I found it interesting that the creator, whatever you want to call it, really endowed us with that ability. And I believe it's kind of lying dormant in a lot of us. And I believe that since we're not really expressing that, it's really doing us a disservice. And I think it's really the cause of a lot of the ills, socially, mentally, emotionally, physically, that we go through, because we're just really not operating at the level that we're supposed to.
Totally. I so empathize with that, because for me, the whole purpose of life is to grow and to evolve. And we are so often, for the most part right now, we live in boxes. Everything that we have and that we know and that we see is boxed. We live in square houses, we almost drive in square automobiles, and then we go to square works and sit in square cubicles and stare at the square devices all day long. It's all squares, which is great because square provides structure and we need structure. Yeah. But what it has created too much structure for us, too much certainty, and we have become addicted to that. Certainty doesn't really exist, it's an illusion, but because we're surrounded by so many boxes, that shape of a box is actually a representation of square and order and everything that is stable. It's great to build on squares. And we have associated ourselves with that, and we got them ourselves into the center. And by definition, Tom Campbell said that the breakthroughs does not happen in the center. Breakthroughs happens on the fringe, on the outside, where there are no boxes, where there's free flowing space and information and flow. And that is why I am so passionate about the flow state, flow science, everything that has to do with flow, because it is opposite of those boxes. And we are evolutionary designed to be in the creative mode, in the flow state, and just be discovering things. But because we like comfort and we seek stability and certainty, we often forget. And that is why I agree with you. We have this almost like supernatural potential within us. but we need to get outside the box. So we need to start thinking in different ways. And coaching allows us to get there. And the flow science provides us the tools to get there. So if we were to go back, how did you get introduced into coaching and flow science specifically?
You know, the more I think about it, I think I've just always been a coach, so to speak, in a way. Because I've always been the type of person that when I find something I'm passionate about, I dive in. I dive in, and I just absorb as much of it as I can. And by the time I'm done doing that, I always have a drive to teach it. So that's always been how my pattern went. Um, as a former athlete, I got real obsessed with working out, you know, and not just working out, but I always like to study the, not I don't just like to indulge in the practice, but I also like to engage and indulge in the literature and the subject matter. So I started off real heavy in the fitness, health and fitness, and that led me to become a personal trainer. And I kind of, as a personal trainer, I kind of that was my first introduction to really seeing what the real problem people were having, because you've heard the phrase, you can if you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for the rest of his life, right? Well, that's when I learned that phrase is totally wrong, right? Because I was the guy that you come to, when it was New Year's or your birthday, you wanted to make that life change, you wanted to lose weight, you wanted to get in the best shape of your life, wedding, you know, post, birth, whatever. And they would come to me when they'd be excited and they'd be motivated, and I would teach them how to fish. I would give them a nutrition plan, a goal plan. I would take them around the gym, show them all of the equipment, teach them how to use it, teach them how to fish. And I would say about 8 times out of 10, um, you never see them again after 2 weeks. So it's not about teaching people how to fish. It's about teaching people how to become fishermen. And that's a whole different process. One is a process, one is a mindset, right? So
Yeah, so it sounds like those people were coming for the fish. They didn't actually wanted to learn to fish. They just wanted ready-made fish.
no, they actually wanted to learn how to fish, and they did, but they didn't have the mindset of a fisherman. Fishing isn't just about knowing how to fish. Fishing is about being knowing being able to endure the boredom, right? Being able to be patient, being able to be disciplined enough to show up at the lake every day, being able to deal with not catching any fish and having that resilience to go back the next day, right? So
Yeah.
that's the difference between showing someone how to fish and teaching someone how to be a fisherman. So so that was like my first introduction to kind of like mindset, that it's not about what people know, it's about what they can get themselves to do, because most of us know what we need to do. The problem is we can't get ourselves to do what we know we need to do. So in place of that, we start searching for more information. We start acting like we don't know what we need to do. So we start searching more information. So that's a whole nother story. So that's when I really started getting introduced to mindset. And of course, I got totally obsessed with that. And then I realized that was my problem as an athlete, is that I didn't have the right mindset. So that really got me like really more obsessed with um, mindset, psychology, um, emotional intelligence, and things like that. And then same pattern again. I started kind of got burnt out with lifting weights, so I wanted to still stay in shape. So I turned to another passion, which was martial arts, and I, studied multiple martial arts, rose to high levels, started teaching. And same pattern again with I wanted to be more flexible for martial arts. I got introduced to yoga, fell in love, learned as much as I can, taught for 4 years. And then the more I realized, it's like, I've been studying all of this personal development, for about 20 years. I've been a personal trainer. I've been a yoga instructor. I've been a self defense instructor. So for me, becoming a coach is just like the likely evolution with the information I have and kind of the journey I've been on. It's just a likely, it's just a
Yeah.
natural kind of step for me.
And how did you discover flow science by itself?
It's literally just a Facebook ad, but it's a little bit more than a Facebook ad, because it was really about the lens I was looking through at that point, at that moment in my life. Because like I mentioned before, I was a high school athlete, but I didn't have the mindset, the vision, the guidance, all of the stuff that I realized later in life you kind of need to be successful in whatever it is. So when I first started coaching, one of the things you're familiar with the concept of a niche. So one of the things they kind of propose to you, define your niche, is like, when in your life did you need somebody, or be the coach that you needed at a pivotal point in your life. So I went back to my high school years, and I'm just like, if I really had someone who could show me where my talent can take me, and create a vision for that, and create a plan for that, and start building the quality of mind and emotions, that's what I wanted to do. But at the same time, I was battling a huge case of imposter syndrome. So since I came from the personal trainer space, I kind of settled in a safe zone of becoming a weight loss coach, which I really didn't make this choice because of passion. I made it because it was easy. At the same time, I'm kind of denying what my real dream is, because I'm thinking that I'm not good enough. I don't have enough information. That same thing I was talking about before. So ironically, right, a friend of mine that I went to high school with, he calls me out of the blue. He sees one of my Facebook videos, and he asked me to start working with his son, which is basically like the spitting image of me. He plays the same sport I played. He plays at the same high school I played, and he's like literally the only Black kid on the team, just like me. So that's literally like my dream situation staring me in my face. But at the same time, it's my worst nightmare, because I'm like, what if I don't get this kid the results? So, I met with his father, we talked, we set up a date to start coaching. And the whole time, the lens I'm looking through is just like, how am I going to get this kid these results? So as I'm looking through this life with this lens, I see the ad for Zero to Dangerous, I think. It wasn't Zero to Dangerous, I forget what it was. But I saw peak performance, I saw, all of the science, all of the science and research behind it. And really all I really wanted was confidence that I can get this kid results. So when I saw peak performance, I saw science, I saw research, I saw all that, I saw everything I needed to know. And I was pretty much sold there, because I was just like, I'm finally going to be able to I'm going to be confident enough that I can get my clients the results. Because before that, I was just kind of working with a bunch of stray modalities and things like that. But I was like, now I'm gonna have a proven framework. It's exactly what my ideal client wants. It's going to be perfect. We're always put in the positions where we need to be. That was just what I needed to get me where I needed to be. Because I kind of realized later that working with athletes may not be ideal for me, but I needed that belief to get me where I needed to be, because I really needed this information, not just the framework, but just going through this had really helped me in my own personal life. So I really needed this personally. I'm looking at it like I need it professionally, but I really needed it personally. And that's how the universe kind of used my imposter syndrome for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fascinating. And did your dream become more clear? Because you said originally what you were doing in weight loss was not your dream. So is it now clear for you what your dream is? Coaching ideal?
coaching ideal, I'm not sure. The thing about the coaching is I don't think nothing starts off ideal, right?
Yeah.
So what I've done is stop trying to create the dream avatar and the ideal customer and my ideal target income. And I found a system that I'm comfortable with, that I'm confident in, that's simple enough for me, and I'm gonna see if that works. It's not my ideal perfect dream fairy tale, but it works. It's a start. And like I said, I don't think it's supposed to be ideal right now. It's just supposed to be started, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's how everything is. And no, that's a fascinating story. For me, the discovery of coaching was a little different. I never coached anyone before. I never was in the position of teaching. And I wasn't really looking for that, but I knew that I was always of that mindset that turn around ideas. I was always thinking in 3D. There's a philosophical part of me that I really like to explore ideas, turn them around, look at them as if they were three-dimensional object and see how you can switch them. And when you turn them around, the meaning changes. And that's what always fascinated me about everything that I would learn. And I would start looking at it from a different direction. It would all of a sudden change meaning, change shape, would start looking different. So I was always into that. And whenever I would learn something, I would want to talk to people about that. So that was my predisposition towards ideology in a way. But and also my other side is very artistic. I finished fine art school. I paint and I draw, although less now because I have less time, but that has kind of always been part of me. And so when I was going through life, I was always looking for this outlet for creative thinking, for design, for shifting things around and creating ideas out of existing ideas. And oftentimes I would not meet the same kind of thinking patterns in others. It's almost like I was speaking a different language. It was strange for many years that I felt like I was speaking in a vacuum and nobody was able to understand me because it's like I was from a different planet or something like that. So I just kind of put it on the shelf and continued on with my life. But at one point, I realized that my life had become so square. Everything was so structured. There was no outlet for creativity at all. It was just all become routines, all of it. And that is when I started looking and searching, and I discovered personal development field. It was really strange because I never even heard about this thing before. Personal development, what is that? I never read any books. I never heard of the prominent players in the kind of in the scene. And when I discovered, it was just like the gates of learning and growing opened for me, and things started to make sense. It was really awesome because as I was using my creativity and my ability to shift ideas, more and more things were coming out. And when I started meeting people who are on the same level, it was just like fireworks in the brain every time we would have a discussion. And then one day I was listening to a book by Stephen Kotler, and he talked about flow state. I never heard about the term before. And all of a sudden, I received the translation for the things I was looking for. He provided the words and the terms and the scientific structure for that, which was before completely unstructured. And that kind of solidified what it is that I was needing so much in my life personally right now then. And then I decided to take it and provide the service for others because it's such an amazing thing to be able to shift your mindset, shift your thinking, shift how you look at the world so that you can continue growing instead of hitting the plateau. As an athlete, or you know how easy it is to work out one way and hit a plateau when you stop developing. And so that was the experience for me. And I've been on this journey for like 3-4 years now, and it's been so amazing. I just can't get enough. And it's just so imagine, so people actually learn in different ways, but there are stages to learning. And the first stage is information gathering, but that stage will get you nowhere unless you actually integrate that information. And from where I stand, coaching allows the person to actually integrate that information over a long period of time. That is why I think it's so important, because not only does it opens up our horizons and allows a person to have a glimpse of what's possible outside of their box, outside of what they're used to, but they also have, throughout this relationship with a coach, they are able to shift and integrate that intellectual thinking into their being, into their life, kind of on the very profound levels. So that is kind of that's where I am.
I'm gonna give you a very crude analogy that I like to use for coaching. Since you gave a very beautiful, etheric, high level breakdown, but I'm gonna give you a crude analogy I like to use for coaching, and that is basically your fly is open. It's literally that simple. It's like you just need someone to see what you can't see. At the base level, that's just like, even if you're a terrible coach or have no training, just sitting in front of someone who, first of all, as humans, we all work for our own kind of we're self-rewarded people, right? So having someone who has a vested interest in your success greatly enhances your chances of success. So if
Yeah,
this person's livelihood actually depends on your results. So they're very invested in your success. And we all understand the power of a mastermind. 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, it equals 3. You know what I'm saying? Because
actually, think it
together,
equals 11.
yeah, we create something that neither one of us could create on our own, that has its own. So, that's the power. That's really the power of coaching, but also just having someone that can see what you can't see, because our own bullshit becomes so evident and natural to us that we can literally say some of the stupidest, least rational, self-destructive, self-sabotaging things with a straight face, like it makes sense. And we really just need somebody to tell us, okay, stop. Did you hear what you just said? Like, sometimes it's that simple. And that's the same as you could walk around all day and not know your fly's open. And
Yes,
a
and
lot of times,
also,
oh, go ahead.
yeah, in addition to that, it's undivided attention that you get from the coach, which people rarely get from anybody in their life.
Yeah, it's the undivided attention. And also, on top of the attention, it's also the feedback you can get. And really not the feedback from the other person, but the feedback that you can get from yourself. If the coach knows how to ask the right questions, if a coach can kind of hone in on what you need to know, what you need to figure out, and ask you the right sequence of questions to get you to figure that out on your own, so to speak, then that's the gist of it. It can get a lot more complicated, but that's the gist of it. Having someone that's invested in your success, having someone that can point out when your fly is open, and having someone that can ask you the questions you need to know. And at the same time, I believe that sometimes, like, if you ever have an idea that sounds great and you're planning it out and you're plotting it out in your head, and the moment you actually say it out loud to someone, it sounds stupid or not as good. It's the same thing. Sometimes we really need to hear ourselves say what we want, what we don't want, what we like, what we don't like, because they say you can't learn when your mouth is open, but I don't think that's true. I think if you're really listening to yourself, if you're really being aware, that's when you actually learn the most. That's my opinion, though.
Yeah, I agree that, and some things only come out in conversation. Some things are so kind of ingrained in us. So for example, everybody knows exactly what they don't want, but actually getting the person to talk about what they do want, what they would like to see, is actually a lot more difficult, because people don't have that stored in their brain. They don't go around thinking, I would want this, this, and this, and that. They are thinking what they don't want. And so they're focusing on what things that are in their environment that they don't like, and they're resisting them. And when they resist them, they just continue persisting. But what coaching does is allows them to speak about the better things that they could have. And while they're hearing it, because there's a power in our words, there's a power in our speech. And when we verbalize certain things, they become more real. And as we speak it, we hear it ourselves. So it's almost becomes like a double loop within our perception. So it definitely helps when you're able to speak those things to somebody and they perceive it without judgment. That is such a crucial part, because most of the people are afraid to get judgment from those around them.
I agree. And also, like, really being able to hear yourself is important. And also, really being able to figure out what you want, because I that's really it's amazing how many people I've talked to who told me they wanted something, and by the end of the conversation they realized that that's not what they want at all, and they really want something totally different. And it's just like when I thought I wanted, you know, I thought
Yeah.
I wanted to get my clients results, when really it's I needed the results. It's the same thing. We kind of need I guess we need lies sometimes. So yeah, coaching is very powerful. And we had this conversation the other day. I just thought I really would have bet my life on it, that as soon as I really like revealed myself as a coach, I thought that everybody wants to be better. Everybody wants a better life. Everybody wants to like have more, do more, be better. Like, I'm gonna have the whole world wants is going to want to work with me. And that
Yeah.
wasn't the case at all. You know what I'm saying? For a lot of different reasons. And I think one of the reasons is because um people don't I think there's a group of people who don't trust coaches and don't trust coaching, and don't really and believe it's like kind of like a pseudo thing, like not really something to be taken serious. And another reason is just because a lot of people don't have the stakes or the consequences in their lives that really push them towards being better. So they say like life is a tree, and you can, of course, there's a top, but you might find a comfortable branch right here. It's like, well, this branch is cool. I don't really have to get up there. That's going to be a lot of work. And I think that's where a lot of people are in their life. They're just like, whether they're in pain or whether they have problems or struggles, they're pretty much normalized to the point where they're not really, there's no external motivation to change, and they don't have the internal ability to change. So they just kind of, most people in that zone, in that zone.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they say, new level, new devil. And so people kind of know intuitively that they are going, if they're going to advance to a new level, they will be like in the game, bigger monsters. However, the thing that they forget about is that if you up level, you actually get better tools, better guns, better things to utilize in order to overcome those new devils, which is, it's incredible. I wish everybody would realize that. But yes, you're correct. A lot of people kind of become comfortable with being in their discomfort, because we like consistency so much. We like predictability and reliability of our environment so much that sometimes it's possible that people would be stuck in where they are, because they just don't want to consider that there might be something better out there, because there could be something worse out there. And I think that kind of keeps a lot of people stuck, and they don't, it's also a guidance. You need to guide people to see that there is a better options out there. Without that, it's almost like they have limited perception, limited ability to see what it is, what else is possible out there. So yeah, I also had the same thought that when I would get certified and qualified in coaching, it would be just like there would be people lining outside my door, because the flow state was so amazing. Flow state science, I love so much the approach, the methodology, the structure, everything, because it's in the science, and I'm a very logical person. So it's kind of weird because I'm an artist, but I'm very logical. So I'm a logical artist. So my logical mind loved that systems of science so much that I thought it would be useful for everybody. But I discovered that it was not quite the case, because I perhaps there is not enough knowledge, awareness about coaching there these days. And most of the information that people know about coaching is coaching in the athletic sense. Coaches who used to be athletes and then they coach new athletes in the same type of thing that they used to do. But as far as personal development coaching, I think it's still rather new profession, new area, and people don't really know much about it.
So you said something interesting. You said like people know coaching through athletics, right? And I actually think the same thing applies with personal development as far as the demographic that we're working with. Like you hire a coach because you want to be a champion, right?
Yep.
And to want to become a champion, you have to have something that you want to be a champion in. And just like it goes back to what I said, most people don't know what they want. So when it comes to like peak performance, they don't even have a thing they perform in. They don't like, not to be like, but most people like, if you ask them what they do, there's nothing in it's nothing that they do that requires them to like, you have to get better at this. You have to. Now there's some people who just kind of like me and you, we're just like lifelong learners. We're like knowledge junkies. We're growth seekers. We're kind of life hackers. We'll do that regardless. You know what I'm saying? We're going to seek information. We're going to take courses. We're going to do trainings. We're going to do that anyway. And then there are some people who wouldn't necessarily do that, but they're in a situation, whether it's a job or a vocation or something that's like, I have to get better at this. I need to get better at this. It's worth it for me to invest in getting better than this. And I really feel like I said, 80% of the population is not there. So coaching is for champions. So as coaches, we got to find champions. And to be a champion, you got to have a sport. So it's the same thing in life. I can't go around talking to people about peak performance, but most people don't even have a thing that they need or want to be good at. Because that's what, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, exactly. Because what happens is that what I can see is that there are systems put in place in our societies that are created so that people can move straight from school into college into work, so that there could be a smooth progression for them to go. And a lot of people do choose those paths and go and kind of get comfortable in them. And when you're comfortable, it's very hard to exit and start looking for something new. So it is those outliers, those people who are never liked those systems to begin with, those who were on the fringe at the beginning and were rejecting the system that told you to do a certain thing or go a certain way. And that relates to being a champion, because you have the drive to continue searching what it is that you really need to be doing, not what somebody else tells you to be doing. And that is what I see. Majority of the people, unfortunately, do tend to follow the provided path for them. But fortunately, there are those outliers who excel in those areas, and they do. Those are the people who usually create businesses. They are the ones who become Olympic athletes. They are on the outskirts, and they start as a black sheep of the family, sort of to speak. They start as some kind of person who is not like others. And so in a way, coaching is actually a support for those outliers so that they can lead innovation forward. Because as the society, for example, right now, technology is expanding so fast that we're barely able to keep up with it. So we desperately need those outliers to lead the way so that they can show everybody else how to up level.
Yeah, I definitely, I 100% agree that we need that subset of people, like the innovators, the game changers, the free thinkers, and it all starts with stepping outside of this societal mode that you kind of spoke about before. Like, I can't think of anybody who really created a lasting impact and they did it within the societal framework. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter. Even like Gandhi or Martin Luther King, like they're revolutionaries. Like they stood up against um, they stood up against a powerful force. But at the time when they did it, they were actually criminals. You know what I'm saying? They were
Yeah.
actually stepping outside the legal societal norms of their time. And not that everybody's going to be a Martin Luther King or a Gandhi, but it's all about fitting into that subset of people who really are driven to have an impact, whether it's just to have an impact on yourself and your life, or have an impact on your society or your culture or your planet. But that's not for everybody. That's just it's not for everybody. So that's one of the most kind of liberating revelations I had recently. Is just that, okay, coaching is for champions. Let me focus my attention on champions, because I'm like I told you before, I'm going around to the local guys playing pickup, like, pay me $5,000 and I can help you get better. And they're just like, I'm just playing for fun. you know, if I get better, I get better. I'm just playing for fun. It's no stakes. And I believe, like most people, that's the stage of life they're in, because even through the collective, and Stephen Collar talks about the three lives that you can live, that hedonistic kind of chasing momentary pleasure, and that kind of hamster wheel of chasing pleasures to get you through the day. Or you can kind of have an engaged high flow lifestyle that's full of meaningful challenge that leads to growth, that leads to fulfillment. Not just fulfillment, the feeling, but fulfillment of potential. And then that third life is a life of meaning and purpose, and an engaged life. So most people are at that first level of just, I'm just trying to get through the day. I'm just trying to find a thing that's going to make me happy for the next hour, so I can kind of get up and repeat. And that's probably like 80% of people. So now I can stop focusing on them, and also stop judging them, stop judging them and stop being mad at them because they don't want my coaching. And now I understand, like, it's nothing personal. They just on a different journey, a different path. It's the heroes that require the guide or the teacher, not the sidekick or the other people in the plot. You know what I'm saying? It's the heroes that need us. So now I'm like, okay, well, I just eliminated 80% of the headaches that I would be going through. Now I know who I need to focus on. And now I know that there's a subset of people who are actually hungry that need me. You know what I'm saying? And that gives me more confidence to get out there and share my message and promote what I'm doing. Because when I was focusing on the 80%, my mindset was nobody wants coaching, because I was focusing on the 80% that didn't want it. So now I'm focusing on 20%. And I'm like, no, actually people need me. Like, there's people out there who don't know they need me that need me. So that gives me more confidence and motivation, as opposed to like, yeah, I gotta make these videos and I gotta do this and I gotta accept this workshop, but nobody wants coaching anyway. So that I'm not gonna be motivated to do anything, like that. So
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I think about the percentages, I always think about ascended masters, how very few of them there are, the ascended masters that we have heard about. They are so high up there on their evolutionary level that there is just like so few of them, you can count them on both fingers of your both hands. And so the I always think about the book Power versus Force by David Hawkins, and how he talks about levels of consciousness. And levels of consciousness indicate what emotional states we live in, they indicate what actions we do, how we think, and what our mindset is. And it takes hard work to ascend from one level of consciousness to the next. But one thing to me is clear is that at certain level, we are not able to help the masses with a lower level of consciousness. We just can't. We don't have the tools. For example, ascended master can influence a lot of people just by being themselves, because they're so high on their evolutionary ladder. They have the ability and potential and energy to influence a lot, so they can help those masses in the lower level, those 80% in the lower level of consciousness who are just living living comfortably. But somebody who is in between, who is not quite ascended master, but not a part of those 80%, somewhere in between, that person can only help a few within their kind of group, within their category, because their outreach is not as great yet. So as we evolve, as we learn and grow and contribute, we move slowly upwards where we're able to influence more people. But at the beginning, it is exactly what you're saying, that you can't focus on the 80%. You have to focus on very, very minority around you, very specific people, because your energy is very precise in that moment. And it works this way because there's a reason. There's some kind of reason that we don't know about. There are a whole bunch of things we don't really know about, and we're just learning as we go. But that to me is clear that, and there definitely are people who are in need of help, that are ready to ascend to their next level, and all they're needing is just a help along their next step. And that is where this very dedicated and aligned coaching comes as a result of identifying who those people are, as a result of soul searching and all kinds of work that we have to do internally. Then we know so much better who those people are who needs us, and then we can help a lot more efficiently than if we were to be just looking generally at the 80%. So it's a very precision work, actually.
Yeah. So I really think that in some senses, like, coaching isn't help. Like, coaching is a level beyond help. If you need help, you actually need to get help to make coaching work for you. You have to be past the point where you have to be past the point where you need help. It's kind of like the what's that
Well,
guy
it's
that
like learning to ride a bicycle. You need help to learn to ride it at the very beginning stages when you still have training wheels. But once you learn and you become an athlete who is a cycling athlete, then you don't need help, you need guidance.
you need a coach.
Yeah.
You need expertise. You need a coach. And that's why I feel like and that goes back to kind of what I was talking about the other day, is kind of balancing that being of service, which is more like being of help and more of a spiritual sense, Siva and charity and all of that stuff. And then you have providing a service. Now you got the same word, but they're two different words. They come with two different mindsets, and they could be very conflicting for someone that come from a heart-centered place, a place of a healer or a helper, and come into the business of providing a service. There's a conflict there. And I think a lot of us who are truly heart-centered, who see coaching as a way to help and a way to heal, I think they could get caught up in that dichotomy, in that conflict. And so I just decided to, like, kind of define it in the terms that I need to define it. Like, it's not help. It's not help. Like, help is for, you know.
That is the difference between the coaching and therapy. Therapy, you're actually helping somebody and looking in the past, and coaching, you're guiding them when they are already well enough and they can move forward and they want to move forward.
Exactly. If you ever seen the movie Karate Kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember the part when he hurts his knee and Mr. Miyagi claps his hands and puts his hands on the knee so he can continue and win the championship? Yeah. That's what a coach does, right? Now, a therapist would have been like, okay, we're going to do a deep MRI. We're going to see what's wrong. We're going to set up rehab. We're going to do all of these things. How'd you hurt it? How does it feel? A coach is just like, no, we're going to handle that enough to get you to where we're not going to do therapy. We're going to deal with it enough because it's stopping you from getting to where you need to get to. So we're going to do Miyagi and we're going to do a quick fix so you can get out there and win the championship, but we're not going to do therapy and rehab and MRIs and all of that stuff. That's not what coaching, and that's another thing that when you come from a heart-centered, healing, helpful place, you can get caught up in helping and not advancing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love to help people. I help people every day, but I don't confuse helping people with my occupation, with my career. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I advance people in my career. I advance people. I help people in my everyday life. I had to stop confusing the two for me. Some people may be able to hold those two kind of conflicting ideals, but I wasn't able to do that. So I kind of had to define things in a way that kind of serves me, if that makes sense.
Exactly. And in my personal experience, the majority of work is actually done outside of the coaching session. After you've said what you wanted to say, after you gotten the feedback, and those spaces between the session, that is when the work is getting done. And when the person is expecting some result and not getting result, if they are of the right mindset, they would know that the whole responsibility lies on them to move up wherever that they wanted to move, and not within the coach. Because in the therapy situation or a doctor situation, there would be certain element of that person providing the result right there and then, visible, tangible, identifiable. But in coaching, it's actually quite the opposite. So that is something that person would have to be well acquainted with their ability to take responsibility for their own actions, for their own results, and their own progression.
Yeah, and that takes that type of person that you just said. They don't need help. They've evolved past needing help. Now they need advancement. So it's exactly just like you said.
And yet they still need some kind of guidance in order to move them to the next level. So
yeah, we all need that. We all need help, and we all need guidance. But it's always clear to know when you need one over the other. Some situations require help. Some situations require guidance or advancement, and it's you want to make sure that you understand what context requires which one, and also which one are you providing as service providers, as coaches, and people in our field. What are you providing? If you want to be service-based and heart-centered and run it that way, do that, but make the conscious choice. Don't kind of waver on this teeter-totter, not knowing that there's even a choice to make. You know what I'm saying? There's a choice to make. There's a kind of conflict. There's a choice that needs to be made, and whatever choice you choose is fine. The only thing that's not fine is not making the choice.
Exactly. And I find from my personal experience, I had to learn a whole bunch of stuff about business, because coming from the heart-centered place, coming from the desire to help or advance or guide others or whatever it is that I was starting with, I quickly realized that beyond knowing coaching, I had to learn a whole another set of skills and treat it with a different respect, in a sense, because it's very difficult when you selling your own service, something that you have created and comes out of your own inside, and package it and sell it and provide it. It takes a whole level of skill and understanding, which doesn't come naturally at the beginning.
Yeah, I like. I think that's one of the biggest blind sides for a healer or a heart centered person, because business is a total energy shift from that. So to go into the situation thinking I'm about to heal and I'm about to be of service and I'm about to help so many people, and then realize to do that I have to change my energy to start dealing on with these logistical, logical, reasonable kind of right brain or whatever things in order for me to even do the thing I want to do. So it's like now you have two jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Almost. Now you have a two, and one you never wanted. Like I've never wanted to be good at marketing. Like I've I
Yes.
have a lot of interests and I have a lot of things that I'm like, wow, I would love to be like. I love to be able to play the guitar. I love to be able to speak Hebrew. I've never thought like I love to be able to like market or write a sales letter. Like I'm a writer,
Yes.
but I've never like I just love copywriting. Like that's not my thing. And marketing is the hardest thing I've ever had to like learn to do. Like because most of the things that I've kind of done, I've been pretty good at. I've caught on pretty quick. Marketing, I'm literally like 2 years in, and I'm nowhere. I'm still in the exact same place. I just have a lot of information, but I
Oh my
haven't.
goodness. Yes, it is so. Yeah, I'm in exactly same place. It's almost like the more you learn, the more there is to learn about marketing and sales
Exactly.
and business. And it almost seems unfair because if you're entrepreneur and you created a business and you want to sell it someday, you are fully in that mindset of build, sell, go on, move on to next. There is no need to shift, to switch hats like you mentioned before. But for us as coaches, as holistic practitioners, or whatever healers, that skill set has to be integrated. And that is twice as hard as just regular business starting.
Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, it's an energy balance that has a whole recalibration of energy that has to go on. There's some people who can balance that naturally, but I, we all have the same kind of potential, but I think at the same time, we all kind of lean a certain way. Like we all have the ability to be extroverted, but some of us lean towards introversion. It's not because we can't do it. It's because that's kind of where we naturally fall. We naturally kind of fall into that. So I think it's the same thing with business and service or business and charity. It's like some people kind of naturally fall into business. Some people kind of naturally fall into being of service. But it's rare that like someone is just like evenly comes out like evenly 50-50, balanced. It's just kind of not how people are designed. Like we're designed for we're designed to be holistic, but we're compartmentalized within that holistic.
Because we are designed to be in communities. We are social creatures and we kind of designed to work together. But what this coaching does, it kind of separates you on and puts you on your own. Because at the beginning, you can't have a team. At the beginning, you must wear all the hats. And that creates this vacuum where you're sitting all by yourself and you're not collaborating as much as maybe other people would. Yeah, so this was such a great conversation, and let's kind of bring it to a close, and let's see, what would you say your biggest wish would be for those who are either thinking of going to the next level or have already know what it's like to be moving from level to level. And in this world that is bombarding us with information all the time, what do you think would be the next step for somebody who is on this path of progression?
So my advice to someone who's on the path of kind of crossing into the 20, from the 80 to the 20, first, congratulations, because, some of us are just built and born for it. Like I said, we all have the potential to be in the 20, but when we're left to those kind of, when we're left to our kind of base urges and our base kind of operating system, you're going to fall in the 80. If you let the default operating system that we kind of run on, which is all about survival and comfort and whatever else, that kind of that base level operating system. If you rely on that, you're going to fall into 80%. And that's why most people enter in the 80%, because it's so natural to just kind of operate on the natural operating system, the day-to-day operating system, which is kind of like what you condition it for. You know what I'm saying? Like we started a conversation, like we're all built, it's hardwired in us to be peak performers. Some of us more than others. But when we were all designed to excel in life or death situations or challenging situations. You know what I'm saying? We all have that ability. But if you don't use it, you just kind of fall into this mundane 80% kind of cycle. So, of course, my advice would be to hire a coach. Like come on, it's like a no-brainer. I think that's what's so frustrating, is that I feel like I have to explain the benefits of something that should be self-evident. It's like if you don't understand, I shouldn't be talking to you. You know what I'm saying? If you don't understand a Bentley, I shouldn't be trying to sell you a Bentley if you don't understand what this is, the quality and what this means. Shouldn't have to explain this to you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I would just say, get a coach. It's one of the most evident patterns in human history. All of the greatest people in history had some type of mentor, coach, or trainer that was helping them. Every great person, everybody that's ever created anything great in their life had a coach, mentor, guide, teacher, trainer. It's that simple. So my advice would be to get a coach.
Absolutely. I agree.
Get the right coach, which is that's harder. That's even harder, because most of these guys are just brilliant marketers.
Yes.
Most of these
and
guys.
to hire a right coach, the person has to rely on their intuition. They actually be so attuned to what is right for them and what is not, that they would know the moment that they come in contact with a certain person, they would know if it's a yes or a no. That is to that extent, they have to have their intuition developed. And that comes from being and spending time with themselves, by asking themselves difficult questions in the quiet solitude of their own space. Could be meditation, could be runs outside in nature, but the space where that truth, the inner truth of the person comes out. So I would say, yes, get a coach, but also develop that understanding, that hearing ability, where you can hear your own intuition or your gut feeling or whatever it is, so that you would know if that's the right way or the wrong way.
Yeah, and that sounds like a process that you really would need a coach to even hone. Unless for most people, that's not in their purview. You know what I'm saying? Like most people in their purview is not like, yeah, I need to really listen to myself and become more self-aware and self-evident so I can tap into my intuition. Like, so even like to even get to that level, you might even need a coach just to help you do that, or help you even get to the point where you understand that is important. Because, you know, I think you just really, I think one of the most important qualities to have is the vision, being able to see past your past and actually see farther into your future, um, and see what could possibly be there and what you could make. You know, what's possible. What's possible.
Yeah, and also that where making mistakes comes in very importantly, because there are different types of coaches. Maybe there is a reason for having different levels of coaches, because people need to build discernment. How would they know if somebody is a good coach? Yeah, unless they had somebody who may be less than good coach. And so they need to allow themselves to make those mistakes on the road to a really great coach, on the road to hearing their own intuition, and forgive themselves for making mistakes, because mistakes are now, if they are part of 20%, mistakes are essential part of the journey. So that is another level of additional things that need to be added to the concept of moving to another level.
Yeah, because it's all levels. So I wouldn't start off with Tony Robbins as my coach. You know,
Yeah,
like, he's the best, but I need to work my way up to warrant the level of, you need to outgrow your coaches. You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
You need to outgrow your
Yeah,
coaches, and so really, like, I kind of believe in kind of attracting your own frequency. So if you honestly in your heart want to coach, you'll attract someone on your level. You know, if you'll attract someone for your budget, you'll attract someone at your level. You have beginning coaches, and you have beginning achievers. It's the same thing, you know. And as coaches, a lot of us need coaches too. Like, we need to keep moving up, you know, as well. So,
absolutely.
you know, I
Yeah.
think we probably need coaches more than anybody else. Being that we're in the position we're in, like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this was amazing. So if people wanted to find more about you, where would they go? Do you have a website or any kind of social media accounts?
Yeah, so the website is selfenhance.com. Um,
I'll
all my
post it
social,
in the comments below.
oh yeah, and all, all my social media is basically Curtis Hance. On Instagram, I think I'm the enhancer, but I think on everything else, I'm Curtis Hance. And
That's a very fitting title, because essentially what you do is that you enhance people. It's so cool that your
yeah,
name fits right into it.
yeah, it's one of those things that just kind of works. Like, I didn't. It sounds cool, but I didn't do it because it was cool. I did it because that's really what I like to do. I like to improve stuff. I like to enhance things, and I like the way to, I like, they say everybody kind of like responds to their name if they
Yep,
hear it in the. So of course I like the way it sounds because it's my last name. So, but yeah, but
it's awesome.
that's really what I do. I really feel like the key to solving all of your problems, if that's something that's possible, is you, like, enhancing yourself. Don't try to fix the problem. Become a version of you who doesn't have that, who doesn't have that problem. That thing is not a problem to them anymore. I think you said that earlier, that we don't solve the problems at the same level that we created the problem. And I've heard
Yeah,
another quote to say, we don't solve our problems, we outgrow our problems. So
that too.
I believe that, I believe that life is a mirror. And if I'm looking in the mirror and I want to see someone that's smiling, I don't put my hands on the corners of my mouth on the mirror and try to get the mirror to smile. I smile. I feel like that's how our life works. If I'm having a problem in my relationships, I don't reach out and try to fix the relationship. I go in and fix something inherent in me. And I feel like the more of our, I guess I say the enhanced version of ourselves, the more of that enhanced version of ourselves that we become, the more of our problems fall away, and the more of our problems fall away, the closer till we get to the life we want to live. So that's kind of
Absolutely.
my philosophy on that. But yeah, definitely was a great conversation. Hope we can do it again. We kind of do this on Tuesdays too, but this is a kind of different feel. I like this feel a lot because
Yeah, this was really awesome. And I hope everybody who's watching really gets really great benefits out of it and really great ideas and gets essentially enhanced in their own way, but also inspired
exactly.
to be the next better version of themselves.
Yeah.
And it is possible. And we see you, those 20%, we see you. That's the thing. We know you're out there and we know how hard it is. So take it for as a solace that even though it's a very lonely journey, but there are people out there who know about your troubles and we are supporting you in some way, that in any way that we can. So this is my way that I'm trying to support things, and I'm sure it will evolve as things grow, but for now this is it. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.